One of the most harmful aspects of social media is that it causes us to compare. We have to understand that social media is a highlight reel. So if you're comparing your everyday life with the absolute best moments of someone else's, then of course you're going to feel like you're behind. Hey everybody, it's Erik, your favorite YouTuber back once again. And this week I wanted to discuss the adverse effects of social media. So there is an intense lack of interconnectivity among young people today. We spend hours unconsciously comparing ourselves to others, diminishing our own self-esteem in the process. And then we wonder why rates of depression are as high as they've ever been. So I was born in 2001, which means that it was perfectly normal for a kid to not have a phone at all. The iPhone came out in 2007 and smartphone revolution came shortly thereafter. As far as I knew, my mom was the only one with an iPhone. That sort of thing was only reserved for adults in my mind. And yes, I eventually received my first smartphone. It was a Samsung Galaxy S3, so shout out my S3 people. However, despite the fact that I had a smartphone, my exposure to social media was still relatively low, as most parents around that time didn't allow their children to manage Facebook accounts, and this was still a while before the rise of Instagram. So that means I grew up in an era where I got to experience that transition firsthand, and I'm just so glad that I got the exposure as to what it was like before we were all glued to our phones. We would play outside, we would talk, we would interact, and I know these seem like foreign concepts today, but it would actually occur. And of course, we did all of those same things even after the rise of Instagram. But then I started to think to myself, was it because we were socialized to? Because it's not like you see younger generations of children playing outside today. We grew up in a world without social media, and that gave us a chance to interact with each other because it was normal to do so. I don't even have to go into how infrequently we interact as young people today. It's like the one thing that was supposed to pull us all together has caused us to isolate even more. One of the most harmful aspects of social media is that it causes us to compare. We have to understand that social media is a highlight reel. So if you're comparing your everyday life with the absolute best moments of someone else's, then of course you're going to feel like you're behind. God has a plan for all of us, and His timing is perfect. It's only going to take you longer to understand what He wants you to understand as long as you continue to covet what other people have. There's nothing wrong with liking nice things and working towards that, but there's a big difference between that and envying another person. The lack of interconnectivity, the comparison culture that we find ourselves in, it's really no surprise why Gen Z has such high rates of depression. And I know a lot of this may be self-diagnosis, so we want to be wary of that. However, it can't be denied that there were times where people were simply happier. I'm sure you guys have seen those videos where it's high school graduating class of 2001 or some arbitrary year at a random school, middle of America, and the kids just genuinely seem happier. I don't want to look back with rose-colored shades because I'm sure that they had their fair share of issues as well. And actually, I want you to do for yourself so that you can come to your own conclusion. So that's why down below I put a link in the description of an example of the type of video that I'm talking about. But let me stop talking y'all's ears off. I definitely have a lot more to say as it pertains to this one, and in fact, next week's video will be related to this topic. This is one that I'm passionate about, so you'll probably see some related topics sprinkled in every now and then. Thank you guys for watching, liking, and subscribing. God has a plan for your life. Thank you for allowing me to make my contribution.